Hi, I'm Laura Luberti, and this is my husband, Joe Arvayo,
Hi.
and he's going to be assisting me in my role play on object relation therapy. So we're going to start the role play now. Hi, Mr. Arvayo. Welcome back.
Hi, Miss Liberty. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good.
So I know that this is our second session, and in the first one we were just kind of going over confidentiality and things like that. And we got a little bit into, what brought you in. I know that last time you had spoken briefly about some issues that you were having in your friend group.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to start with that today and continue there?
I guess we can, yeah.
Okay. So go ahead and just remind me from last time what was happening with your friends.
So, if I can remember, last time we were talking about how I feel like my group is not the same as last time, as it was before, because of, drama that happens at work, and now everyone's kind of, not everybody, but there's a couple of people missing from the group, and it really sucks trying to not solve the problem, if I could say that.
Okay. So
Because I am, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Because I am too direct. That is what I was noticing.
Okay. So there's just a little bit of friction in your friend group.
Yes.
And you're struggling to not fix that for everyone.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So what's the cause of the friction?
I think it's just a misunderstanding or miscommunication between, not me, but my friends, each other. I guess something happened and they just weren't on the same page, and it led to this one person just not hanging out with us anymore. Like when we have lunch, or if we just have some free time at work, like there's that two people missing just because of misunderstanding.
Okay. And you said something about being direct. What
Yes.
did you mean by that?
So sometimes I could be kind of, excuse my language, but an asshole, and kind of tell it like it is. I like to put it, but I'd like to just speak my mind, and sometimes that causes friction as well between certain people.
Okay. But this incident that's happening right now in your friend group, do you think that might have been influenced at all by your directness that you're talking about, or this is just completely unrelated?
It's unrelated,
Okay.
but part of me not wanting to solve the problem is maybe I'll be too direct and maybe I'll get excluded, or kind of like in that nature where, like, if I say the wrong thing, then both groups, now it's two groups, so both groups will not, want to hang out or have a chit chat. So I'm kind of just hoping they can kind of figure it out and talk, because most of them aren't confrontational as the way I am. I like to just nip it in the bud.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think I'm hearing that you're really trying to just tread lightly and let the situation work itself out. And has your directness in the past, have you used that to resolve any conflicts before? Was it successful for you?
Not really.
Not
with
really?
like past relationships with girlfriends,
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that.
I've been, in a couple of relationships, and I'd like to say they were kind of toxic, but it's mostly just me. With relationships, I do tend to avoid problems and not really. How do I put it? I'm not as confrontational as I would to a friend.
Okay. So when you say that these relationships with your partners are toxic, what do you mean by that?
Let's see. Kind of like me kind of not complaining about, things that my partner does and stuff like that, just to avoid that confrontation, because I don't know how to explain it.
Okay. So do you and your partners, when conflicts do arise, how do you handle those things? I know you said you aren't confrontational. Do you just like bottle them up and avoid them, or do you resolve them later on? How
Pretty
does-
much. Pretty much most of my time is spent really thinking about every outcome.
Okay.
But it kind of tends to avoid the problem without really solving it. So I don't know how to go about certain problems with really, really close people, not just friends.
Okay, so you're having, you know, some issues with trying to resolve your friendships. Obviously, it's really important to you
Mhm.
because, you know, that is a good form of social support. And then you're also having some issues with your partners, your girlfriends. But in both cases, you have a really different approach to each one. With your friends,
Mhm.
you tend to be a little bit more confrontational, right? But with your partners, not so much. I'm curious as to why your two responses to those two different relationships are so different. It almost seems like one is one extreme and one
Mhm.
is another extreme.
I guess it has to do with maybe growing the way I grew up, or
Mhm.
the way I was treated when I was younger. You know, you're with somebody every day, so you kind of like know what to say, what not to say. I don't. It's kind of different because at work or when you're with your friends, it's a different environment than when you're at home
Absolutely.
with somebody every day. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
And so, what are some example? Do you feel comfortable sharing like some situations with your friends that you would feel comfortable with addressing versus some with your partners that you would feel comfortable addressing?
I guess with me with friends it's different because it's more jokey. More
Mhm.
jokey, and if someone's just like, having a bad day or, there's an issue, I'm like, hey, it's not that big of a deal. Like,
Mhm.
does it affect you? No. Okay, bye bye. Blah blah blah. But with a relationship that's really really close, like any move or anything you say, there's you have to not only think about yourself, but you have to think about the other person. So that's where I was like, I'm very respectful of the person's feelings,
Mhm.
and I don't want to hurt their feelings because I do love that person. So that's where the confrontational kind of doesn't, connect.
Mhm. So you have a lot of consideration for them.
Yes.
Okay. And are you having any issues with your current partner?
I would say yeah, a little bit. It's rough.
It's rough.
Yeah.
Okay. And can you tell me a little bit about what's going on with your partner right now?
Lately she's just been more critical with stuff that I do.
Okay. And when you say she's critical, like about what?
I could say an example. I collect sneakers,
Okay.
and she knew that from the get go. It's one of my go-to things. One of the first things I do is look at sneakers whenever I'm on my phone.
Okay.
But yeah, she kind of suggested that I would sell all my shoes.
Really?
Yeah.
And so what do the sneakers represent for you? Is it like just a hobby, or is there some significance behind
It's
like collecting the shoes?
To me, it's like a super hobby. It's I didn't have it growing up because my mom wasn't always there or wasn't didn't have the sufficient funds to buy the shoe that I wanted. So now that I can get it, I kind of it's nostalgic, and it's also like cool silhouettes from my favorite brands, and not too many. There's people that understand. There's people that just don't understand.
Okay. And is your partner right now, is she one of those people who doesn't understand?
From her telling me that collecting sneakers is stupid and I should resell it and move on with life. To me, it's it's triggering, or it's hurtful.
It's hurtful.
Yeah.
I can imagine, especially if your partner isn't supportive of something that's special to you, like a hobby.
Mhm.
So have you been able to address that with her? Your feelings on the situation and her criticalness?
No,
No.
No.
Okay. Would you ever feel comfortable doing that in the future with her?
Oh, definitely.
Definitely? Okay. And so I know that you had said earlier that you're trying not to be confrontational with your partners because it's a different relationship than the relationship you have with your friends. Is that one of the reasons why you haven't addressed this with her yet?
Yeah, could possibly be.
Okay. And so I noticed earlier that you had said something about your mom, and her not being able to provide that for you as a child. Is that something that you can tell me a little bit more about your relationship with your mom?
I guess I don't really like talking about her, but if this is gonna help me,
Okay.
I guess I could talk about it. What would you want to know?
Well, I appreciate you opening up a little bit. I understand that could be hard, especially talking to a stranger. But I was hoping to maybe get a little bit more information on, your relationship with your mom growing up.
I guess it's one of those, grew up single mom, drug use got a hold of her. So if she wasn't working, she was out doing, drugs and vice versa. So I kind of sometimes had to raise myself and my siblings. So that's where that, it gets complicated when she comes up in a situation or, I don't know what you could put it as. I just don't really like talking about her much, but I guess, for your sake or for our conversation, I guess that's an example.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. I can imagine it's difficult to talk about those things. And I understand that your relationship with her right now, it probably isn't the greatest, right?
Correct.
Okay. And, growing up, you had said that she wasn't really present. But when she was present and she wasn't using, was she supporting and consistent, or was it really just that inconsistency and not being there?
It's not being there.
Okay.
Yeah, the inconsistency. That's it. It's a great way to put it.
And do you notice any patterns between your relationship with your mom and your relationship with some of your partners?
I guess I don't really know how that ties together.
Did you say your mom was critical at times and didn't have that support for you for your hobbies?
Correct.
Okay. And do you also see that sometimes your partner also doesn't support those hobbies? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just wondering if maybe, there's a pattern here that, your mother didn't support those things and, maybe your partners are performing the same, and that maybe you're being non-confrontational with your partners to seek out that relationship that maybe you didn't have with your mom. What do you think of that? What are your thoughts and feelings?
I guess it kind of connects.
Okay.
I haven't really, thought about it that way.
And so, growing up with your mom, were there boundaries in place for your relationship, or not so much?
Not so much.
Not so much.
No.
And so, would you say that there are boundaries in place for your partnerships now?
Yeah,
Yeah?
I guess. Not really set boundaries, but
Okay, so there might be an idea of
Yeah.
boundaries, but they're not clearly defined. Like, you guys have never sat down and talked about them before?
correct.
Okay. Do you think that that would be something you're interested in kind of working on in our next few sessions? Is maybe, thinking about what you like and don't like about your relationship to start with, right? And then, we can come in and we can discuss what works and what doesn't. And then maybe with the things that aren't working in your relationship, maybe we could talk about if there needs to be a boundary in place to not correct it, but to adjust the relationship so that it meets your needs as well as your partner's needs.
Yeah.
I know that was a lot of information to take in, but is that something that you would be open to in some of our future sessions?
Yeah, I could try that, I guess.